Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Marketing Back to Basics Day 4. And Monique here of Silver Paw Studio and Pro Pet Photog .com founder. It would help if I had my microphone right here. Anyways, welcome back to Marketing Back to Basics. This is day 4 of a 5-day class. And what we do is, oh, hey, Frank. Hello. Okay. So this class is structured where the first few minutes, about 5 minutes, while everyone gets settled and gets their drink and their note cards or notebooks. Uh, After the first 5 minutes, we go right to the class. The class is a pre-recorded class that I've jam-packed full of all kinds of information. And then right after that, we go right to live Q&A right back here. And then we do it all again tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow is the last day. It's all Q&A. But I invite you to go back and look at the first 3 classes in this series as well. We went over so many things so far, and I think you're all holding on to your harnesses today, because we're gonna talk about more than social media. Yeah, that's kind of what we all are curious about. We can kind of get our way through social media, and with these classes I gave this week, I have a ton more resources for you to make it really more engaging and really reach your potential clients and your followers. Uh, But what else can we do? What else can we do with our marketing outside of social media? And so today we'll touch on other types of media, not social, evergreen content, and then getting out into the world. How do we do that? There's so many options, aren't there? And for replay viewers, hey, so glad you're here. After this live ends, I will make a chapter marker to start right into class if you want to skip to that while we say hi's and hellos. I hope people can make it to class tonight because it's a big one. I tell you, it's a big one. So there has been homework every day. It's very simple homework, and it's homework you don't have to do every day of the class, but it's something that you could work on as you put together your 2023 ideas and plans for marketing your pet photography. Frank says, "Hey, Monique, wasn't able to do any homework digging out from the photo booth images." Yes, you covered a lot of the photo booths, Frank. Thanks. I used to do a lot more of those. Mm. Oh my gosh, I have my tea. So nice and warm. Tina's also here making dinner. Okay, perfect. Yes, I know that this doesn't air exactly when everybody is awake in the entire world. So I appreciate you, replay viewers as well. I want to shut something down real quick so we don't get notifications. There we go. Also, before we head into the lesson, I want to remind you that we have a Facebook group. If you're not in that group, just go apply. You must answer every single question. I think there's about 5. So make sure you answer those and you'll be in our private Facebook group. And we continue the conversation from these classes, and it goes beyond just these classes. We talk about all kinds of things in that private Facebook group. Another resource that you're going to want to be part of is the Pro Pet Photog email. And that typically comes out every Friday. And that is a reminder of what the Friday YouTube produced video is going to be and other kind of behind the scenes. So if you're on this email list, you're going to get things ahead of everybody else. It's kind of like the special secret club. And there may not be some things extra special in tomorrow's. I'm just saying. Mhm. Yes. So it's been so great to have everyone here and participating in the group and getting the emails. So that is a couple things I wanted to let you know about. Let me go back over to comments here. Excuse me. I'm so glad I pre-recorded these. This would be so much talking right now, and I don't want to miss any of the good points. If you have questions during the live stream, typity type them. I will be watching for questions and comments as you watch class. If you're a replay viewer, you can also ask questions. Just type them in the regular comments, okay? And we'll definitely answer them tomorrow as all Q&A. If you can't make it to any of these classes all this week and you can only make it to Friday's class, please do, because that is your chance to talk with me one on one. I usually have a consultation fee to chat with me one on one and get some of this advice. But tomorrow's your day. We're going to go live for as long as it takes to answer everybody's marketing questions. Same time tomorrow, 5 o'clock Mountain Time, which is Denver time if you look it up on a time converter. So we are at the 5 minute mark. So let us jump into class, and I'll be watching again for your comments and your questions. And let's start class. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Welcome to day 4 of the Marketing Back to Basics course. In the last 3 days, we talked about on day 1 how to not use social as social media and how to be interested versus interesting. Day 2, we talked about and brainstormed practical ideas, just a whole bunch of them. Whether you're basic, intermediate, or advanced at your marketing, lots of content there. And then day 3, we took all of that information and put it in categories, especially good if you have a timely piece of content or something spontaneous. And we put those in the educate, inspire, and entertain and serve categories. And today, we're going beyond social media. We are going to talk about digital a little, but there's so much more to marketing, isn't there? This is especially when we feel like we have done everything. Have you ever said that? Like, I know I have. Oh my gosh, I'm doing everything. What am I missing? And so we're going to go over that today. Remember, this is the pre recorded segment of the class today. Once this part is done, we'll go to live Q&A. Just a reminder. All right, another little recap about me. This is me. You can see my little pup, Bailey. I have made tons and tons of resources for you over on YouTube, on Pro Pet Photog. I have photographed thousands of dogs and cats and other animals, all kinds, for clients and for nonprofits. I have 8 years of pro experience. Before I was a pet photographer, I was actually a people photographer and managed a veterinary practice in Washington. So, all kinds of interesting things about me, but let's move on. So today we're going to talk about 4 marketing methods. I was like, gosh, I call it methods, modules, baskets, approaches. We're going to go with methods today. And you might remember this from a video I did last year. And here's the link at the bottom. It's titled Find Photography Clients with These 4 Methods. And so I did go into that really, really quickly in that video, but that's another resource for you right here. No worksheet you have to download today. Let's just go over these 4 marketing methods: digital, physical, outreach, and prospecting. So social media, this should say social media and digital. We've covered a lot of that this week. It is free for the most part, accessible. We could do it from our phone, our computer. We know a lot about social media. But I kind of like shove that off to the side because we've talked about social. What I want to talk about is other types of digital marketing. We did cover this some in the last class, but I just want to go over it again because it's pretty important to augment all of those because we don't own social media. You own the content on your blog, your podcast, and your email. That is, even if like there's a huge debacle with let's just say one of the social medias was bought recently and it's a dumpster fire. And if your entire business was on that social media, you would be panicking right now because you have no control over that. What you do have control over is what exactly you put in your podcast, your blog, and your email. What's even better is like email. People have asked for that. They say, hey, Monique, yes, I want to sign up for this thing at your event and get your awesome Tales with Tales note every Friday. I'd love to hear from you. Oh my gosh, they have asked to hear from you. Social media is just a lot of thumb scrolling. And so it's a lot to keep up with. The podcast, the blog, the email, you don't have to do these quite as often, but they're going to be extremely impactful to your clients and to your SEO, search engine optimization, so your potential clients can find you. So you really want to look into these things. So Podcast, I started off with a Tales with Tales podcast, and that was me talking about my tales, and then I actually had clients I would meet up with. There's a little microphone that I got for my phone, and I would just take my phone and meet them, and ahead of time, I'd say, "I wanna talk about a tale, some kind of animal story that you have." So they would tell, like, a 5 or 10-minute story, and they would be featured on my podcast. My clients would tell a story. So cool. And then shortly after, like a year after that, I started co-hosting Critter Patter radio show. So I would go to the radio station. And in order to do that, I made them say that I could record that and use it on my podcast. And they said, sure. So we added that into my contract for the radio. And I would interview guests there on the radio and then put that on the podcast. Super cool. So not only could I be on the radio and everybody in my community could hear me, I can also repurpose that onto my podcast. Really awesome. After doing that for about a year or so, I can't remember now. With the pandemic, it was just really, really difficult to record from home and find the guests and everything. So I kind of retired from the radio world, if you could call it that. And I just have those Tales with Tales podcasts, and I've switched over to the Pro Pet Photog podcast now. But that is a really great way to connect with your clients. They can listen to a podcast while they're doing dishes and taking their dog for a walk and on their rowing machine and whatever people do, driving. Oh my gosh, podcast while driving is huge. And I mentioned in the last one that you can even do video podcasts within Spotify now. Yes. So pretty awesome. Blogs. Oh my goodness. If you don't know, blogs are very powerful for SEO. This is where you can put your longer form content. Maybe you're going to refer to this longer article or blog that you wrote on your Facebook post. You're going to say, hey, go read a longer version of this and see more photos on the blog. So I will make an email to my Silverpaw Studio clients and talk a little bit about something, whatever it is. Let's say it's a photo session, and I'll have one photo in the email and a short story. And I'll say, if you want to read more or see all the cute pictures, go over to the blog. And usually there's maybe 6 pictures over on the blog, but it's a longer story. And so I get quite a few people that do click over and read the longer story. You need to have an opt-in. You can see my picture here with little cell phones. I've talked about that. You need some kind of like a PDF or some reason for them to opt in. So all these work together. And you might remember they do have a full course on just these 4 things, but we're talking about it today too. But if you're interested in just getting that course that I made, there's 4 modules there too. Let's see. So digital, we covered that. Let's move on. If you have questions on this, remember we'll answer questions at the end and on the last day of class as well. Lots of power here though in digital that you own. All right. So next module is physical. Physically marketing your services or your adoptables. How do you physically exist in your community? And you'll see I talk about community a lot in this particular course, this class today. So these are the things you could physically hand out or showcase. So this is a little more expensive depending on how elaborate you get. I did my book project this year, No Co for Doggos, and I made sure I printed several extras. The more you print, the less expensive it is. And so I got these for such a good price that I'm gonna now, I just got them, going to start taking them around to other pet-based businesses and offering to have them in their waiting room. Why not? So you could do stickers though. You don't have to go that crazy. You can do stickers. You can do cute little buttons, bookmarks, brochures. I have a brochure that we made that goes specifically with my book. It's just a guide to areas that you can take your dog. And, my, friend Franklin Taggart, I I seem like I quote him a lot. I hope I can have him on, as a special guest someday. He calls these fridge-worthy freebies. So, you can print items like, branded swag, things like that, magnet frames I made once, that was really cool, and the bookmarks, brochure, stickers. All of these can be branded or just really cute, and somewhere on there, you should have your studio information too. And physical. Flaunt it. Put your logo on everything. Now, I spent a little extra and put it all over my car. So whenever I say, oh, just find the car with the paw prints, that's me. But I also, you'll notice often I have my branded shirt on. I have my Silver Paw Studio shirt on. And I try to wear that to photo sessions, name tags, signs, anywhere you can put up a sign. Maybe you have a booth somewhere that you're setting up. Put your studio information on everything that you possibly can. Um, oh, this could be tote bags. You can make a patch for your camera bag if you want to. Uh, yeah, flaunt it. And this is probably well, besides the car wrap, this is the most expensive one probably, is the physical displays. And I've worked a lot at this year. This has been kind of a push for me. In the You can see me with a cup of coffee that I have had a display up in that coffee shop for years, and I reset it this year. And a lot of these are from the book project I did. And so make sure you get your selfies in there. We talked about that too. Get pictures of you in there. So this is a really great coffee shop because people are happy when they go to a coffee shop, and they come here often. And so I have my rack cards up on another ledge, but also the plaque right in the middle has a QR code straight to my website. So if they run out of rack cards or they're not in a convenient spot, people can get information right there. I have gotten business from this display. And there's a little tiny dog park across the street. Huh, pretty cool. You've seen videos of a lot of these, the cat cafe I just did a display at, and the grooming shop. So places that people are happy and maybe that they have a little bit of extra income. So a lot of times I don't put much effort into veterinary hospitals because people are usually very stressed out when they're at the vet, and that's not the time that they're thinking of, put getting a big set of photos. So that's just my 2 cents. Down in the far corner, you can see a building under construction. That is the new wing of the shelter that I volunteer at, and they have a whole wall that they're going to let me and 2 other photographers that do work with them make a big display in their community room. So, that's a very good option. I've had a display up at shelters for a super long time. And it's also kind of nice to make the people that work there smile. Let's see. So for the physical module, we have give it, flaunt it, and display it. Get out in your community. Yes. And give them some fun things. And I'm at the end, there's going to be a part in this where there's a place that you can especially give away some of these, some good places to do that. All right, next module is outreach. I know I'm talking fast. Hope you're taking notes, but you can always rewatch this here on YouTube. How do you show up in your community? This is the way that we're really good. Us pet photographers are awesome at this. We love volunteering, we love giving, we love fundraisers. And I want to say that don't be shy about using this for marketing. Your volunteer efforts, they are expecting to give you something back. It's a value exchange. So if you're doing photos like I've done every single week for years and years, you can put your logo on those. You can watermark those photos. You can share them on your own pages. There is a lot you can do with these. So don't be shy about using your outreach efforts in your marketing. So here's one way we really like to give back. A lot of times it's sponsorships or gift certificates. So here I am. You can see me. I actually did the photo booth at the big gala. And I like to do the big galas and the photo booth because I get email addresses. In order for them to get their photo for the gallery, they need to put their email address on there. And now they're on my list. And I get a ticket. So I can go sit in there and hobnob with everybody at the party. And I also give a pretty good size gift certificate to be have a photo session to be on the cover of the calendar every year. I've done that for a few years, and that is part of the live auction. So that is one of like 6 things that are live auctioned off. And it's incredible. They will auction off ski trips in Vail and this will bring in more money. It's crazy. So this is a great way for outreach too, and you could be like a sponsor of this event. One warning, do not let them put your offering in a raffle. People pay just a teeny amount for some chance to get a ticket drawn in a raffle. Your your offering is completely devalued. So make sure that they understand this only goes in a live or silent bid situation, not a raffle. All right, how else can we do this? Participate. This is where you sign up to do a photo booth. Maybe it's at a pet expo, maybe it's at a 5K, maybe it's an adoption event. I've done all of these things. You can take photos. The puppy with the food over here, that was a special dog days of summer at the farmer's market, actually. And a friend of mine said, "Oh gosh, it would be so fun if you did pictures down here." So we filled these baskets. I just went around the market and said, "Hey, I need vegetables." And I asked everyone at the market for vegetables to put in these baskets. And then my friend had Bones Does Your Dog Treat Bakery. She made special treats that we stuck in the back of the basket that the dogs would reach for. So it looked like they were eating their vegetables. And again, people gave me their email addresses and I gave away a session and I've gotten some good clients out of that. But I was at the farmer's market. Who'd have thunk? Here, me in the doggy costume, I was just participating. I didn't even have a booth, but I just had a great fun just participating. One thing that you can do too is go to non pet related events. Now, kind of like the farmer's market you see here, I have a story of my dog trainers, and they, for a while, for a couple of years, had a booth at the Taste of Fort Collins event, a food event. Now, don't bring dogs to that, obviously, and dogs weren't allowed, but they were the only animal related booth. They got some really good leads that people were coming down there just to try different foods and kind of a fun atmosphere. And like, bang, hey, here's the dog trainer. How cool is that? They said that was way better than even doing these pet expos. So, something to think about outside of what we typically would do. So, there's tons of opportunities for this, especially now as we're kind of ramping all these things back up. I used to do about 4 events a year. And for here in Colorado, a year is like May or June through October. The rest of the year is too snowy outside, but you never know. Sue once did a movies with your dogs, and we played like 101 Dalmatians at a dog friendly brewery. And there was a few of us vendors in there. And there's just so many things that you could do for outreach in your participate part. Uh, Volunteering and teaching. Volunteer, obviously, we do so good with our volunteer efforts. There's a lot of ways you can volunteer, though. It's not just the adoptables. They might need all kinds of things. There could be marketing campaigns, which is kind of what I've shifted to this year. About 3, 4 times a year, we photograph for the season. But there could be any kind of marketing campaign. Maybe you want to volunteer to photograph their staff or some other volunteers for something like their website or a new building being built. Sometimes they'll pay you for that too, just so you know. They do have a budget for that occasionally, but you can also volunteer. Any of those things you want to volunteer to do. We're so good at all these. But I would definitely, if that's something you really want to try and branch out with, is ask them what other types of volunteer photography they need and videography if you do that. We did a ribbon cutting and I was doing the video of the ribbon cutting and Frank was doing the still photos and it was so great. Or when that particular shelter got an award, I was there and I videoed it for them and they really appreciated that. And then not only did they get the video, the people who were giving the award saw me. And so there's a lot of ways that this will trickle down. Obviously teach. I love teaching. If you see over here on the left, there's a big classroom full of people. I was invited to a conference and I actually gave 2 classes at this big conference. One of them happened to be about photography. And of course, you've seen me teach here on YouTube. It's one of my big passions. I always thought I would be a teacher. So I appreciate you being at this class and making my dreams come true to be a teacher. But these are all kinds of ways we can outreach and get our names out there. And honestly, you're probably doing some of these things already. You really are. So even if you're like at this 5K and you didn't get a booth, maybe wear your shirt and pass out business cards anyway. Go to all the vendors. If you don't offer headshots for other pet-based businesses, you could take your business card around to one of these, right? Like any of these kind of things. All right. Next one is prospecting. Now, this is who do you know in your community? Who do you know? And honestly, this could be the most uncomfortable for a lot of us. Um, I have found with photographers in general, there's a reason we're on that side of the camera. We're a little bit shy, and it can be difficult for us to really step out and meet people, but it is so good. Here is a picture of my friend Jen. Her and I were at another conference and we shared a booth, and we both said, boy, wouldn't it be great to have a networking group just for pet based businesses? And we were both like, yeah, we both thought of doing that for years. And we said, why don't we co host it? And so we did. We started NoCo Pet Pack networking for pet based businesses. The unfortunate thing was our timing. So that group we started in January of 2020. Yep. And then we went online for a while. And then what happened was everyone adopted dogs, and all these pet based businesses were extremely busy. We're talking pet sitters and dog trainers, and everyone was just swamped with business. So after 2 years, we decided that we both wanted to kind of dissolve it. And it's something that I always keep in the back of my mind to start again. So maybe that's something that would be good in your neighborhood. But there's also all kinds of other ways to connect with people. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So if you have past clients, talk to them. Perhaps you can offer them prints, if especially if they're the clients that you had this year. So if you did a session in the summer, like this Basset Hound puppy in September, October, you can say, hey, we did this really great session. I have this pre-made Christmas card. Would you like to order some, or New Year's cards, or thank you cards? A lot of times they'll go, "Oh, yeah, that'd be great." And if you get it to them early enough, that's it, you're done. You've already designed it, they pay you and you send it off. There, you've made some money. Maybe they need another print from their session. These Santa Babies puppies, I'd gone to the foster parents' house, who was fostering these puppies, and we did all these great, photos. And then through the years, this person has hired me many times for different things, big milestones in their life, business portraits, all kinds of things, just really great. So whenever I have something coming up, I make sure that I let people like this know, hey, I've got this thing that you know how my process works. You like how my style, you'd probably really like this other thing that I have going too. So not only to sell them things from their past session, but also, offer something new. So also potential clients. Now, these are people maybe you've like the last one you volunteered with, and they eventually become a client. So with this couple and the two dogs, I volunteer for her organization. And when she got this puppy, they were like, oh, we need to do a family session. And I've probably done 3 or 4 sessions with them. So you always want to keep in contact with people who could be potential clients. Down here in Bones du Jour, Sue, she is since retired, but her dog treat bakery, I would get together with her. We just talk about marketing and different things. And I would see her at the farmer's market. And one day she needed a whole set of photos. And so she called me. And you can see in the background, there's a display. I also had pictures hanging at her bakery. So we displayed there, and she hired me at some point, and I would buy treats from her. So really nice uh, relationship there. This little puppy up here, that is, oh gosh, a Fizz and Flutes kind of little truck. I don't think they're around our area anymore, but I thought, well, that's an adorable truck. And we took it down to this natural area and with her little doggy, and it was more of a model call. So potential clients, you could say, hey, I want to try this. And then if you want to sell prints to them later, you could do that. But these are kind of the warm leads. The people who are like, oh, I might be interested someday. Keep in contact with those people. And then, like I was talking about with networking events and networking groups, there's many, many different ways you can network. You can join something that's every single month. You could do something that's once a year or like once in a lifetime. You can see on the far right, that is Peter Hurley. He's a very famous photographer. Um, I was able to go to Creative Live when he was teaching, and I am right next to him. I don't know if you could see that. I am right next to Peter Hurley, so I just had to throw that in there, you know? My business coach, Jeffrey Shaw, has an amazing podcast, written 2 books. I've taken his classes. I saw him at PPA Imaging. So make sure that if you go to some of these big photography conferences, meet as many people as you possibly can. So, also we had a local event. So, I'm going backwards order, but that's fine. If you go all the way over to the left, there's me with 3 ladies and another one of my business coaches. And I met someone new that happened to have a whole bunch of dogs. So we hit it off immediately, and she could be a future client. Pretty cool, right? And then there's conferences that we have started. I have been involved. You can see me down in the corner with my headphone on, and we're actually giving our own conference. So networking looks like a lot of different ways. There's groups you can meet every month. You could do a class or like a one-time networking in your local area or online. I think some of them are still meeting online. And then from there, what you do is you meet one to one. So you might meet someone that you hit it off with, like this lady with all the dogs up here. And I could say, hey, let's go get some coffee next week and put it on your calendar right away. One instance of me meeting people was online networking when Periscope was around. It was the first live streaming, and we had this whole group called the Pet Lovers Tribe. And we were all over the world, and I got to meet people and get so connected to them that one person I went and I did a video and some photos for her when I went back to Washington State. Another person I hired to make my website. Another person lived in a city that was near uh, the conference I was going to. So we met up and keep in contact. You never know where these connections are going to go. So it's definitely worth the, $20 lunch to go to some of these. Bring lots and lots and lots of business cards. And these days you need to put a QR code on those business cards as well. And then this is also where you can give out some of that swag we talked about earlier. Your stickers, your buttons, your pins, whatever it is, and where you can wear your branded shirts or anything you want. So, networking is huge and it might take a little while, but you know how they say one person knows 5 other people and those 5 people know 5 people. You'll get to have a name for yourself. Oh my goodness gracious. Woo wee. That's a lot. Digital, physical, outreach, and prospecting. Those are my 4 marketing methods. And remember, you can watch that other YouTube video about it too. But your assignment is to just jot ideas down now. You might have to rewatch this to really get the little ideas and nuggets that you're looking for digital, physical outreach, and prospecting. Write down some ideas, but brainstorm just one of those to implement because these are bigger ideas. These are projects. These are going to take a little bit more time and budget. So brainstorm one idea that you plan to implement maybe in the next month. Can you do that? Yeah. Okay, so that is your assignment. Okay, we have one class left tomorrow, and it's really going to be Q&A. So anything that you didn't get a chance to ask this week, we will open this up to live questions here in just like 1 minute today, if you're here live. But the next class is going to be all Q&A about marketing your pet photography, any of the topics that we covered or anything else that you come up with. If you're not able to be there live, just make sure you make a comment here or email me. Um, Actually, if you don't want to wait or you can't make it, here you go. My email, Monique@propetphotog.com website. Check out all the resources at the website and the socials. And then tomorrow too, you'll see at the end, I'm going to launch a new program. And so I'm going to tell you about that. And then one of you will win it. That's right. Yay! So that's coming up tomorrow. I hope you can join us for that. And with that, let us go into the live Q&A. Let's go. Woohoo! I can't do you realize that class was a half an hour long? Isn't that amazing? I'm just watching it again myself and like, that went so fast. I know I talk super fast. This is definitely one of the classes that I suggest you go back and rewatch, especially because not everything's on the slide. You have to listen to all the things that I say or turn on closed captions once they generate. Lots of ideas, lots of ideas. And this can be one of the harder things for us to do because this means getting out of our house, especially if you maybe have a full-time job. So you'll have to find things to do on the weekends or the evenings. It's really important to get out in your community. What happens a lot of times with photographers of all different kinds, weddings, babies, seniors, any type of photographer, a lot of us kind of come and go really quickly. And it's a problem because we've put it in people's minds that we're not going to be around that long. I actually had a client about, was it 5 or 6 years ago when I was going out of town for a couple of months. And she says, "Oh my gosh, you're coming back, right? Because you're my photographer now." And she hired me every year while her kids were in school. And so they're very used to photographers kind of coming and going. So you really want to make sure that you are still out in your community somehow. Sometimes it's just like you can put something up in someone else's business or you could like sponsor something, and sponsor can be a trade, so many times, and Frank knows this too, many times if we volunteer for a big event, they will put us in as a sponsor in all the programming materials and their newsletters that they email out and their social. So that is one way you can kind of be a sponsor without actually putting out cash if you have extra time. So to me, I think it's super important to be out in your community somehow. We have about 25 minutes or so, 20 minutes to do Q&A, and I see a couple of questions here. So what do we got? Frank says, rat cards and business cards, how effective are they? Um, I suggest you always put your QR code on there, and you could put QRs to anything. And actually, if you have Canva, it'll generate it for you. There's free QR generators. It's funny because QRs have kind of come back over time. I feel like a few years ago, everyone's like, "Meh, meh, we don't like QR codes." And now suddenly they're back. And I think part of it was the pandemic. Like all of our menus were on QR codes, and there was all kinds of things we needed QR codes. And they're so easy to use. You just point your camera at it. So I definitely say have QR codes to something, and you can generate QR codes for anything you want. It could be your schedule. It could be your email. It could go to your website. You can make these QR codes for anywhere you want. So, in the beginning, you probably will put them just to your main website, but all kinds of ways that you can make QR codes. You can have different sets of business cards with different QR codes. Like here's to schedule a meeting with me. Here's to see my gallery. So you can make all kinds. I will often get this sounds silly, it's probably too expensive, but I get a lot of business cards through White House Custom Color, my regular print lab, because they have what's called like referral cards. So you can get them in smaller batches. So I can get like 50 at a time because I don't hand out really that many. So I can get 50 cards at a time. And I could change out those QRs. My rack cards, I just typically go to one of the inexpensive places. One thing would be like, don't bother getting really expensive, any of these things. It's fun and nice to get the thicker cards or the really soft cards. And I love those too. But these, you don't want to spend that much money on, honestly. Now, rat cards I like because you can put a lot more pictures and a lot more information on them without them being like a trifold thing. It's not that much to or design these, organize them, design rat cards. I love rat cards. I don't think I have any. Yes, hold on. Let me grab a rat card. So my rat cards have changed over time. Right now, what I have is see if I can do that. I have several pictures on the front. It's very, very simple. All my contact information at the bottom that I'm on the socials. And I decided this time on the back, I would put some social proof of what people liked about me. So, you know, review. You can put pictures on the backside, things like that, and I get these really inexpensively from what's that? Um, I forget the name of the company, but you all know who I'm talking about. I get a million emails from them. And, if you wanna try to get a rat card, all you have to do is search for rat cards, give it 5 minutes, and you will get a coupon that comes through on your Facebook feed from that company. They will pixel track you and you will get a coupon. I do think they are effective. People ask me all the time, "Oh, do you have a card on you? Do you have a card on you? Do you have a card on you?" And these go with my displays. So if you go to a coffee shop or somewhere, I've got rack cards up at all of them. When I go to a 5K, rack card. So it's a little glimpse at my work and my contact information, kind of my brand too. And I always have a picture of myself. Can I tell you a quick story? When my daughter was getting married a few years ago, she went to a couple of bridal shows and she came home with lots and lots of things like this. And she says, "Mom, I don't know. I don't remember these people." It was such a big bridal show. She was looking for a photographer, a wedding photographer. It was such a big show. I don't even remember. I talked to so many great people. And I said, "Okay, grab their business cards. My business cards and my rack cards have a picture of me on them." And if they have a picture of themselves, that will help trigger your memory. So you need to have your picture on there so that people go, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that person. I remember Frank." And that'll instantly trigger that conversation. So I do think it's worth it. You can get like 200 of them and they'll last you a couple of years. Rack cards can really last a long time. And it's a nice way if you have any kind of display up or any kind of relationship marketing with another local business, it's a great excuse to go in there. And maybe you don't want to buy something from them that day. You just like, "Hey, I just want to touch bases, say hi, refill my cards, and see how business is going for you." I always ask how business is going for them as well. So I do think, Frank, that rack cards and business cards are effective. There's a lot of different ways to do business cards now. Some have this little thing that you tap on the phone. But then I find that it just goes right into my contacts and I forget them. I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. They just disappeared into my contacts." So I'm not sure exactly how to use those digital cards at this point, but um, so, yes, that is my answer for that question. Tina says, "What about offering end of life sessions to your vet for their patients that are older or don't have much time left with their families?" Yes, absolutely. This is typically the first question a lot of non pet photographers ask me. "Oh, I saw this really touching story of this photographer who only does end of life." Well, you don't have to specialize in that. You can definitely offer that. For a while, I even offer that as a separate offering. Like, here's my special end of life. I will do anything I can to rearrange my schedule to be at that end of life session. There are veterinarians who specialize in that, and some that specialize in grief help. So that could be some way that you can team up with them. You don't have to do that as a volunteer. You can do that as a paid session. What's interesting is that we put a lot of effort into those end of life sessions, but a lot of us discount them. So I think it's just like a compassion thing. Figure out where you're comfortable with that. It is hard to sell those images. Just because the dog is gone after that, or cat or whoever. So sometimes it's a longer process for end of life sessions just because you want to give them that little time to grieve before you show them all the pictures that so it just I leave it up to the client. Do you want to see these right away? Or do you want me to give you some time to process and I'll get back to you in a couple of weeks? And each client is different, but you can definitely offer that. And if you wanted to make Tina a special, just a flyer saying, "Hey, just so you know, I offer this." Um, and that could be one thing on there. So in marketing, there's a phrase like, "If you confuse, you lose." If you put everything you possibly do on there, then they're like, "Okay, whatever. She does some kind of photography." You know how many people ask me if I do wedding photography? No, I sure don't. I sure don't. But that could be a nice way, Tina, to make a little flyer and take it to your vet. You don't even have to go to the expense of something at a big print shop. You could print something on your color printer at home and just do a few of them and say, "Hey, just so you know, I'm a resource for those clients that are going through these hard times. And So, and keep in mind that they are processing a lot of things. So, I don't know if you've worked at a vet hospital, but when people are in their appointment for that, they are thinking of all the things. There's so many things that have to happen in that moment that I would ask if your veterinarian can give them that flyer when they give them their, card. So most veterinarians will give them a card, and often they'll also give them a clay paw print. And if they get their cremains back, you can also ask maybe it could go in the special bag when people come in to pick up, or a card. So just kind of as a bereavement thing, and what would be really nice now that I'm thinking about it, Tina, is to put the Rainbow Bridge, poem on there. So you can have one side about you, maybe, or one part of it, and one part about Rainbow Bridge. So that would be very touching. Yeah, but absolutely, there's nothing that says you can't. Frank asks, discount coupon for past clients for the prospecting piece. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Um, I what I've decided to do this year is do, like a half off gift certificate from now until Christmas Eve, and so those could be used next year. This isn't a coupon, this is a gift certificate, so these, I think, legally cannot expire. So I push people to use them in the next year, but they've already paid me money, so I need to honor that. So just be careful if you make gift certificates, what your policy is for your expire date. But you can definitely do that. I this afternoon emailed absolutely every single client of mine from last year, and I said, "Hey, I have reopened your proofing gallery, and my lab actually does have this new card, a greeting card thing that your clients can do through me, through the gallery. It's really, really cool. I just figured it out, and it's so much less expensive and so much easier for me because I don't have to design their end of year greeting cards. So what I did was I opened up their gallery and said, "Hey, you know, I've reopened your proofing gallery just until the 10th because otherwise you're not going to get anything in time." So my lab has said December 10th is the cutoff to get things in time for Christmas. And so those people who like, oh, I wish I'd have ordered all these other pictures, or gosh, that would be a great gift, or yeah, I do want holiday cards. So that's what I did as just kind of an exclusive for my clients, made it more exclusive than a discount. But you can absolutely could do that. I know some photographers who once people pay one time for a session fee, they never have to pay a session fee again, or their next one, like every other one is a session fee. There's so many ways you could do that. I was doing for a while a referral program, and so people would get a little card. Thanks for using Silver Paw Studio. Here is two like coupons to what do we call them? I guess we call them gift certificates, to your friends, a referral. So they get $50 off. So you could always give that to your client too. You know, if your client uses this card, then you also get $50. You know what I mean? Or however much you decide to do. So there's a lot of different ways you could do that. It's definitely, especially this time of year, worth reaching out to them and saying, "Hey, remember we did this session this year? It's the holidays. This would be a fun, fun gift. Everybody loves my dog, or my horse or whatever it is." So that would be a great idea. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Frank, is doing an event, like a fundraiser with a holiday theme at the dog training facility that he and I both do some work with, and he's doing the photos for them, and they've been really good about putting his name and his logo in all their emails and their push for their event, and so that's a really great way to team up with another business. He gets to offer his photography, and a bunch more people get to hear about him. They have a pretty good sized email list. And as far as I know, their email list is only past clients. So that's even better. So that's really cool. Yeah. That's great. And I would definitely say they know how to do this. But if you're teaming up with someone that's not done something like this before, make sure that they know, hey, be sure to mention me, that kind of thing. Tina, I'm not familiar with the Rainbow Bridge poem. I'll look it up. Thank you. Oh, yeah. It's very sweet. It's not, I want to say like spiritual. It's maybe spiritual more than religious, I would say. And most people really like it. It's very touching about their pets crossing over this bridge. So people love that and seen a lot of cards and things that you could buy for people. So that would be really nice. And people have reprinted it all over the place. So I'm pretty sure copyright's okay on that to use. So that would be a good one. What other questions do we have? I know we went over a massive amount of things from digital, and this is digital that you own. I really suggest, like, I think we talked in another class that if you're going to do a blog, do a blog. If you're not, maybe not. You don't want your this website to look stagnant. Um, but blogs are just, they're good for so many things. They could be a blog. I use my blogs for announcing stuff like, here, sign up for this thing over on this blog. I don't even have to write another page. I just add it to the blog. I get lazy over there. So blogs, if you like to do audio things or you don't have to bother with all this other equipment like for video and things, podcasts are excellent. You can get so creative with podcasts. It's so fun. I love doing a podcast and listening to podcasts. And you could really get out in your community if you find a radio show. So those kind of things and an email list. I would definitely suggest an email list. And what's great is all these modules work together, as you probably saw. So if I do a booth at a 5K, fundraiser for pets, at my booth, I have a jar that they could sign up to possibly win a photo session. And it says on there, and you will be part of the Tales with Tales note that goes out once a week. So that's how I grow my email list. So I get someone who wins a session. I get to display my work at this event. I get to be listed as a sponsor and participant. And then I get those people on the email and I can market to them later. See how all these things can kind of come together. And also at the event, I can give away those stickers. I can give away all kinds of little things to people. So there's little low cost things that you could do that all kind of come together. Who hosts my blog? My blog is a WordPress, so it is ingrained in my WordPress website. So I don't have a separate company for that, although that is an option. I think there could even still be free blog sites. So some people actually, that is their entire website is their blog. And I think right now my wildlife and nature photography website, Cattail Chronicles, that I run with my husband, he keeps up that, and that is actually Squarespace. So he's done that, and I believe the front page of that, I haven't looked for a while because he runs that. The front page is just the newest blog, so you get a picture, and the front page is always new and fresh. So that's actually through Squarespace. So that's an option as well. While I'm talking about emails, I should mention I've personally used 3 different brands for email. MailChimp is free. I would say if you do not have an email list, put it together now. It's such a great way to keep in contact with people and to give them things and to offer things and have exclusive things. They're very difficult to grow. I understand that. You don't have to put out an email every week like I do, but I definitely suggest you have an email. That is one way to connect with people where they've asked you to. So MailChimp is, as far as I know, free up until a certain number of either emails or subscribers. It'll take a long time to get there, trust me. So it's very easy to use. They have a lot of different things they offer on MailChimp. I've also used Constant Contact, which is actually based right here out of my town, which is kind of fun. Constant Contact, I left about 2 years ago because there was features that I needed that they didn't offer, or they offered for such an extra amount of money. I just didn't want to pay it because I didn't use it that often. So I've moved away from Constant Contact and now I'm on what's called ConvertKit. So ConvertKit, I actually got a deal and got the year for less than $300, I think. $300 or $400. But I can do a ton of stuff with ConvertKit. It's incredible. I'll be doing a YouTube video about all the tools I use on digital tools. So that'll be coming up in 2022. But ConvertKit has been really cool because I can offer like my book, when I did the book pre-order, I put it on ConvertKit. When I've sold like just little PDFs or something, I've put it on ConvertKit and I've since moved that to Pro Pet Photog for you all. But anything like that, I can just go put on ConvertKit. It's so great. Right now, my gift certificates and my book sales, I did order extra books so that people can order them. And I have had people like, oh no, I should have ordered more. And so I'm delivering books tomorrow. But um, you can put things that people could buy on ConvertKit as well as send out your emails and have your drip campaigns and have your landing. So many landing pages I have on ConvertKit. It's so worth the cost, and it does take a little bit to set up, but it's pretty easy. If y'all know who Pat Flynn is, he highly recommends ConvertKit. And so anywho, that's about email. I would suggest looking into email, getting yourself an email service, and figuring out just some real basic that you can start sending to people. So there's that. And I believe, Frank, that Squarespace has email too. So Steve and I have started gathering emails from that. We put out a free guide. Um, Trail Ridge Road and Rocky Mountain National Park. We did a guide for photographers of Trail Ridge Road, and that is a free map and guide that we made to pull people into our email list. And we've only talked about that like one or two times on YouTube, and I think we have 14 subscribers. So last we checked, which was like 2 months ago, we're just gathering emails at this point. We haven't even sent anything. So some people only send things every quarter, every month, something like that. But it's definitely worth tying together your email and your blog. Those are things you own for sure. All right. What other questions do we have? Let me see if I've got any more here. Any questions that come in through the Facebook group, we're going to tackle tomorrow in the full day or the full hour, whatever it is, the Q&A that's scheduled for tomorrow for this class time. So you can, if you can't make it live, that's okay. Just go ahead and put it in the Facebook group or just directly email it to me, Monique at propetphotog.com. And obviously, if you just type in your comments on this video, I'll get that too. So that's pretty nice. What else? Trying to think of what else I have in mind for you. Anyone who has shown up and participated in this week's classes will be entered in a live random drawing for tomorrow. You do not have to be there to win. I will just be pulling names from the entire week and putting it on that, wheel that you spin online, and it'll just boop, it'll pick for me. It's a random generator. And so someone will win the thing that I'm launching tomorrow. That I've worked probably 6 months on. I've worked on this for 6 months. I've really put a ton of thought into it, so I can't wait to tell you all tomorrow. But I don't wanna be that person who's like, "Oh, it's all later." Trust me, you'll know in 23 hours what I am offering. Let's see, what else? I think that's about it for today. Loved having you here. Thank you so much for your great questions and comments. It's awesome to have live students when we go live as much as possible. Again, replayers, thanks so much for being here as well. And I think that's a wrap then, y'all. I think it's a wrap. That's right. Another successful day in class. You've made it. So please do show up tomorrow if you possibly can, 5 o'clock Denver time, Mountain Time. And we're going to answer all your marketing questions. That's right. I have scheduled an hour, but I am happy to go past an hour. We can really dive deep. Usually it costs money to ask me these pointed questions, but not tomorrow. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do my outro. Y'all can do it with me if you want. I know Frank's done it with me for sure. As always, I wish you many woofs, purrs, and TREATS. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go. All right. Bye. Thank you. Bye.